I was asking earlier about some ano to, like issues in Cebu, and then I remember I was talking to your colleague, and then she mentioned that there was actually some recent incident about a bump scare yata na kumalat because of social media or something. And because what I would like to get at is this information just about about politics? Kasi parang there's a tendency to think na ganun siya na it's just about that, but it's actually not just that, diba?
I think the bomb scare incident refers to a page called Cebu Flash Report. It's very popular. A lot of people follow it for traffic updates, but we in the mainstream have some issues regarding CFR because, for one thing, we've documented several instances of them using content that isn't theirs and passing it off as original content. So our journalists who covered the Metro Gaisano fire, for instance, in January, they spent, I think, about 48 hours on the field with very brief breaks. And then the next thing they knew, their content had gone viral on Cebu Flash Report. So we called their attention to that. And Cebu Flash Report also has had a track record for being used for political content, but the way they gain traffic is by posting interesting content, memes, and in the case of the bomb scare, they reported an unverified initial report to the police that a bomb had been found somewhere in Lapu-Lapu and caused some panic in Metro Cebu before they finally took it down within the day, because it turned out that it was a hoax. Nobody had taken the pains to verify it, and when mainstream media called them out on it, they said, "Inggit lang kayo sa traffic namin."
So it's not about traffic. Let's just be.
If you follow Cebu Flash Report, please be very cautious about the sources that they use for their information. I'm not saying all of it is bad, but just take each post with a big handful of salt, not just a grain.
And there were a number of things earlier mentioned here about bullying and yung concern nga about issues that are not getting surfaced because of yung kaguluhan sa social media. Are there things that you would like to highlight that you think our audience here should be aware of?
Offhand, I can't think of a specific case of bullying that we've documented in Sunstar Cebu, but I do notice that one thing that's worrisome is the tone of discussions on social media. We really don't mind being called out for mistakes. In fact, it helps us stay honest. But the tone doesn't have to be cruel. It's very easy for anonymous posters to say, "Kabugo ba ninyo?" Or, "Medyo bugoon mo gamay, Sunstar Cebu." That's the kinder version, nga bugoon mo gamay. All you really need to do is point out this post is wrong and here is my evidence to show you why it's wrong. And then we'd be happy to correct it. We have a very strict corrections policy. We also have a very strict policy against plagiarism. So every time we get called out, we do respond quickly. But there's no need to be unnecessarily mean.
Siguro we can, we're down to the last 5 minutes, and I'd like each of you to devote that to like your thoughts on what our audience should be conscious of when it comes to social media, particularly also why is it that it's important to stick to the facts, for instance, and to avoid presenting it in a criticism in a hurtful manner.
Okay, this is what I always remind my students, no? It's not wrong, especially that they are communications and journalism students. It's not wrong to be opinionated. However, you don't also have to be rude, no? In order to convey your message. I always explain to them that if you will do it politely, no, it has more impact and it would go through the person or the party concerned. But if you are going to do it rudely, no, you lose your chance to be good because you have the last touch. Now you are the one doing it badly.
Si Reka muna. We'll start with from there and then end with Sol.
As a fellow youth and a millennial, I would like to tell everyone that we must be responsible of our actions and we must be careful of clickbaits, of memes that we think are funny but are actually hurting people. We must always think for the benefit of others and for ourselves as well.
I posted my challenge already a couple of minutes ago. So kasama yon. If you can volunteer and partner with media organizations, maybe with Sunstar Cebu, Rappler, if you can volunteer all information, makakatulong yun. The second one is on a personal level, be aware that your behavior online can be copied by other people online as well, and that normalizes a kind of behavior that you set out to your community. Kasi lahat tayo, meron tayong certain level of influence online. So, all of you are influencers. As I mentioned, everyone is a publisher. We all have the same megaphone. Pare-pareho tayong may potential and may power. So the way you use your social media accounts should be responsible. The third one is, we're coming here as, we're a media organization, Rappler, but we have our Move PH is what goes around, our civic engagement around, arm to engage you in discussions like this. Now, kagaya nga ng sabi ni Sol, a lot of people hold media organizations accountable, and that's well and good. However, iba yung constructive criticism sa ad hominem attacks. When you just call us bayaran, that's libelous. You should notice, Pol-Sci students kayo mostly here. But when you go and say, I have proof that you've been paid, then that you hold us accountable. Kaya nawawalan ng essence if you just label us something without proof. So it's always come to us with evidence. That helps the conversation, because the difference between media organizations and trolls and other people is we can be held accountable, and we should be accountable to you the same way we hold the powerful people accountable, and that is the media's role always. The media and the government has never been best friends. Why? Because it's our power to hold them into account whenever they do something na kulang for us, or they do something wrong. So, the same way we hold them accountable, you can hold us accountable, but we don't hold them accountable by saying, ikaw kasi, bobo ka eh. We hold them accountable by asking questions and showing them facts and data. So that is the ecosystem that we should be navigating around. Be aware of your power and your role and your responsibility, and do something. Stay engaged, again, because ulitin ko, your silence is dangerous in these kinds of times.
And Sol?
It used to be very easy to tell fake news from real news. I'm guessing most of you, if not all of you, were born after 1995, right? But in 1995, a website called The Onion reported that then US President Bill Clinton had sent vowels to Bosnia so Bosnian names could be easier to pronounce. So clearly it was meant as a joke, satirical post. Right now it's a lot more challenging to tell what's real news from what's fake news. So it's really a responsibility that all of us have to share. No, you don't have to be a journalist to care about the quality of information that circulates, because decisions are made based on that information. So if, for instance, someone was to give inaccurate traffic data, roads would get built in areas where no new roads are needed. Or a more familiar example, if you travel, you rely on the quality of the maps you are using. Otherwise, you get lost, you spend extra amounts for gas. So it's similar to the way decisions are made in our cities, our towns, our country. If the decisions are anchored on poor or faulty information, that has a direct impact on the quality of our lives. So we have to care about it. I know it's very tempting. I often get the sense na it would be nice to be apathetic sometimes, because it's exhausting trying to go after hoaxes and prove them wrong. It's exhausting to trying to be civil when you really just want to be mean sometimes. But you have to care. We all have to care, and we all have to do our part. We have, as mentioned, we all have some influence in our social network. So every time we see disinformation being distributed, we have a responsibility to call it out. We can call it out gently, we can call it out privately, but better to do it in public so at least more people have the chance to see it, and always present the evidence that you rely on so others also have a chance to challenge it, to counter it, to add to it, to make the whole conversation more productive and more meaningful.
So there you have it. Information technology has rendered us the usual power, the usual gatekeepers to information in a way less powerful than before. And it has given power to each of you in this room. Diba? But that means you need to be doubly responsible as well for your actions. I hope that the conversation right now and the conversations earlier this morning gave each one of us triggered some thought, the thought process and thinking, introspection within each one of us, and we'll use this technology more wisely. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to everyone.